Hi, everybody. Welcome to our webinar. We're just going to give people some time to join. I see people joining now, so give people 30 seconds or so, then we can start. Hi, everybody. We're just waiting for people to join. I see people still filtering in, so we'll give people another 30 seconds or so, then we can kick off. I think we'll kick off. We seem to have leveled off with people joining. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining our webinar today. Welcome to Amach's webinar on digital transformation in the airline industry. This is the first in a series of webinars that we'll be doing on tech innovation in the airline industry. There's more to come on that later. We're absolutely delighted that you could join us today, and we hope you find this an informative session. Next slide, please. So here are the people going to be speaking today. Hi, everybody. My name is Alan Raftery. I'm the head of commercial here at Amach. I look after all new customers, contracting and onboarding them. I'll be your host, and I'm joined by my colleague Rob, who's going to be the speaker. Do you want to introduce yourself, Rob?
Hi, I'm Rob Lazzurs. I'm the Director of Technology here at Amach, and I'm responsible for the technical direction at Amach and our innovation in the aviation sector.
Excellent. Thanks, Rob. So our agenda today, we've an action-packed agenda. Today we're going to cover a good few different subjects, and we're hoping to keep this to about 30 to 40 minutes. We're going to leave plenty of time for Q&A. So we're going to introduce Amach, and then I'm going to pass it over to Rob, who's going to talk about charting the current digital landscape in the airline industry. And then we're going to go into some digital transformation examples that we in Amach have seen with our customers. And we've kept this fairly high level, and we will dive into detail of each of the subjects in further webinars. And then we're going to give you the thoughts on the future of the airline industry before closing off the webinar. So some housekeeping before we get started. We encourage questions. We want this to be an interactive session. There will be time for questions at the end of each section. So we have about 4 opportunities for questions. Suggest you post your questions in the Q&A chat, and we'll pick them up there. And I will ask Rob the questions at the end of the section. And if you prefer to ask your questions anonymously, please message me directly in the chat function, and I will ask them for you to Rob. This session has been recorded, so for anybody who can't make this today live, you can watch it in your own time, and you can also forward this on to your colleagues. So we'll email out a link to this webinar at the end of the session, and you can share this link with your colleagues. So a little bit about Amach and who you're talking to. We are a cloud consulting firm for the aviation industry. We were founded back in 2013 in Ireland, and we have over 300 people, cloud experts working with our various aviation customers. And we have people in 13 countries, including Ireland, UK, Romania, and dotted around Europe. We also have multiple technology partnerships, some of which we will talk about today. We'll talk about the likes of AWS, Azure, and UiPath today, actually. And what type of company are we? Well, our vision is to be the trusted partner of choice, driving innovation and digital implementations within strategies for our customers. And we want to innovate and transform and future-proof their businesses. And our mission is to bring together a diverse team of technology experts to help drive that digital innovation across our customer systems, processes, and people. And what type of services do we provide? So these are a range of services that we do, everything from cloud consulting to optimization, development, cloud contact center. I think that's the first subject that Rob's going to touch on today. We also do DevOps, cloud migrations, and QA automation. We will touch on a lot of these, as I said, briefly today, and in future webinars, we're going to dive into detail of each of these types of services that we offer. And finally, for context, before I pass it over to Rob, what we've done here at Amach, I mean, and why we're come to run this webinar series is we're trying to share our experience of over 1,000 cloud migrations and optimization projects that our people have done over the 10 years that we're delivering technology excellence to our customers. I'm going to pass it over to Rob now, who's going to talk about the current state in the airline industry, and I'll talk to you later with questions. Thank you, Rob. Over to you.
Thanks, Alan. So, in terms of what's currently happening in the airline industry, I joined personally at a very interesting time at the end of 2019. And so the first thing clearly I'd like to speak about is the post-pandemic growth. So when I first started, the airline industry was booming, everything was fine. A few months later, it very much wasn't. But thankfully, what we've seen now is that people have been excited to get back to travel. And with that growth came growth challenges, of course, and we're going to touch into that a little bit later in the webinar. Sustainability, obviously, is a huge topic in the world. Everyone knows about the climate crisis, and aviation is keen to play its part in the sustainability challenge. We've seen technologies like SAFE come along, sustainable aviation fuel, and clearly there's a lot of research and development into hydrogen and how that might power engines better. But it's really good to see aviation taking its part in this piece. Another exciting piece on the technology side that I'm seeing deployed in a lot of airports and with airlines too is the Internet of Things. So we're starting to see how the Internet of Things can help in turning around planes more quickly, getting passenger flows through airport more smoothly, and that's helped with a lot of the growth that we've seen in aviation recently. And lastly, and why we're here to talk today, of course, is digital transformation. Now, aviation has been at the forefront of technology since the very first days and the very first passenger planes. It has to be. Aviation's a very technology-focused business. These planes that fly are big digital machines, but also in the ticketing systems, in the customer management. And it's really nice to see that aviation is continuing to take that innovation seriously on the digital side. Now, a key part of that digital transformation, of course, is cloud. Now, of course, that's no surprise to anyone in aviation. A lot of planes spend their time in the clouds. But the clouds we're talking about here, of course, are the big public computing clouds like AWS, Azure, Google, Oracle, and others. Now, I think most of you here will probably know that the reasons why we moved to cloud. We've all been on the journey to cloud for quite some time. Some of you might even be fully in cloud. Some of you might be looking at the very start of your cloud migration journey. But it's worth setting the scene on why we do this, why we're moving to use cloud computing providers. And the first one comes back to that growth we've seen in aviation recently over the last year or two. The ability to scale both up and down, of course, when times aren't so good, is really important in aviation. It is a very demand-driven industry. There are peaks, there are troughs, and being able to do that with your digital technology, being able to scale it down and up when you've got more demand is very important. And all the big public cloud providers give you this. Of course, one of the things that people are very sensitive to, especially in these times, is cost. You know, people want to know that they're getting good value from the aviation providers that are using. That's what customers need. And so that has to affect every level of the business as well. And it's an advantage you get from cloud, not only from the scaling up and down, but also the optimization you can do in cloud and the resources that you use and the data you can get from how you use your cloud provider. Now, the last point on here, I think is probably one of the more important ones, the reliability and security that major cloud providers give you. The cloud providers allow you to focus on what your business is, you know, selling tickets to users, discussing with the users what their needs are, and running your business, running your aviation business, flying your planes. The big cloud providers then taking on the security piece that they do allows you to focus on that. Now, moving on to what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about digital transformation. And it wouldn't be a good talk in 2024 if we didn't start talking about AI at the very start of it. So I'll give you the answer from AI as to what digital transformation is. Our good friendly AI bots say that digital transformation is the process of integrating digital technologies into various aspects of business, organization, or society, fundamentally changing how they operate and deliver value. It involves adopting digital solutions, enhancing processes, and leveraging technology to improve efficiency, innovation, and overall performance. Thank you, AI, for the answer. But what does that really mean for you in the aviation industry? Well, it means using the digital tools that are out there to best serve the needs of your customers, increase your profit, and reduce your costs. Yeah, making sure that you can use all of the digital tools available to run your business better. That's what digital transformation is. So talking about customers, one of the biggest touch points for customers is going to be how they contact you. Be this over phone, be this over web chat, or through your website, your other digital channels. Now, in the past, what we've seen is that these use disparate technologies. You'll have your call centers using telephone lines and PBXs. Maybe you've added a web chat to your website, but that's some third-party provider. And then other channels will come in through other technologies. What we've been helping our aviation clients with recently is adopting Amazon Connect. Now, we recommend Amazon Connect as the cloud native solution for your contact center because it deals with all of the channels and it integrates nicely with all of the cloud computing technologies out there. Allows you to improve your customer's experience and get your NPS up. Now, of course, there are other options here. You can continue with the legacy solutions. And there are other platforms out there like Amazon Connect. Cisco, for instance, offer a comparable platform. But the reason we at Amach here, we've specialized and we recommend Amazon Connect is because it's the most cloud native solution. It integrates very easily with all of the other cloud technologies out there. And we found it the best for aviation clients. So what benefits have we seen this bring to our aviation clients? The first one, the most striking one, I think for me, especially as also being a customer of aviation, I'm always on a plane flying somewhere, is the reduced hold times. So this has been a huge win for a lot of our aviation clients migrating to Amazon Connect. Suddenly, instead of the global call centers they might have all around the world so that they can follow the sun, having their own call queues, they move using a cloud native solution to one call queue. That means that not only are you reducing the hold times for customers, but you're able to increase the utilization of the people you've got in those call centers. So you no longer have customers fall into a call center that might be busy whilst another call center is relatively unused and operators are sitting there not answering calls. This, of course, clearly leads to happier customers, increased customer satisfaction. I know that when I phone in as a customer, if I get my call answered quickly within seconds or a few minutes, I'm definitely a happier person. Your customers will be too. But also, this starts reducing costs. So not only from the increased operator utilization, so that every penny that you're spending on people answering phones is being used efficiently, but also getting rid of the old legacy PBXs and the telco lines that they involve, and then the telephone handsets and so on. You start reducing the cost of running these call centers. And lastly, I think most importantly with Amazon Connect, you then get very easy integration. So when the customer phones in, suddenly their Salesforce record is up there. You're able to understand who it is you're talking to, whether they come in via chat, whether they come in via a phone call, or any of the other channels that Amazon Connect supports. And what really astounds me about Amazon Connect is the numbers, and that's why we've got them up here. These are real-world numbers from aviation clients like yourselves. And the first one just blows me away, 93% reduction in call wait times. It's just phenomenal. The 95% reduction in needed voice touchpoints, 90% reduction in call abandonments. That one really was the big one for me. That's the big statistic. No longer are customers phoning, getting frustrated, hanging up, and then maybe potentially complaining on social media or elsewhere, they're getting their call answered. They're getting through to your people and they're getting their problem solved. But also 80% of calls routed to web chat. Yeah, so that's the benefits of that omni-channel solution. They're getting the same experience, whether they call in or go via web chat. Your operators are getting the same experience on their side. They're getting the same rich information from your other systems about those customers, and people are getting their problems solved. So I think it nicely brings me to questions on Amazon Connect. And Alan, I'd ask if we got any questions.
Yeah, encourage people to send their questions in either in the chat or direct to myself. I've got a couple in here. Let me read them. So I need you to put on your delivery hat on, Rob. So how long does implementation typically take?
Sure. So of course it varies with every client. There's different requirements. I like to say as a reason there's the word custom in customer, so everything's a bit different. But typically in aviation, what we see is implementations taking about 4 to 6 months of Amazon Connect. So that's starting the project, moving the call centers over, doing the internal training, and getting from that start to the first customer call answered, usually about 4 to 6 months.
Very good, thanks. I've got one other question in. So does Amazon Connect integrate with any AI systems?
Of course, it's
Oh, we got-
2024. We
yeah,
have to talk about AI.
not surprised we got an AI question.
No, not at all. Yes, it does. There are many AI systems out there. Amazon offer their own, so you can integrate with that. But it being a cloud native solution, it integrates. Salesforce have their own AI solutions as well, and there are others. It integrates with most of the popular AI systems out there.
Very good. I think we'll move on, Rob, to the next section.
Sure, excellent. Well, thanks for
Thank
the
you.
questions, and
Yeah.
please keep them flowing in through the Q&A. So we're here to talk about digital transformation today. As I said earlier, a key part of digital transformation is cloud. Using cloud allows you to bring all technologies in your business together and start using them most effectively to serve your customers' needs. In terms of cloud, though, it's a non-trivial thing. A lot of businesses in their adoption of cloud struggle with adopting cloud. They struggle with cost, they struggle with security, they struggle with cloud management. And so in terms of what we recommend for cloud management, we recommend a tool called Terraform. Now, Terraform recently has went through a bit of a split between the company that originally founded it, HashiCorp, and with the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, which is a charitable foundation that's there to foster technology and develop, innovate technology for the whole wider community. And a lot of people and companies get together around the CNCF to develop common technologies like Terraform. I won't go into that today too much, but it's worth highlighting that if you're looking at Terraform to understand there is now this split in the community, and we will cover that in later webinar series. But why do we recommend Terraform? Well, in part, you've got to look at the alternatives. So most people, as they start their cloud journey, would do what we call ClickOps. That means opening up the web console, clicking on new instances or new services from that cloud provider. And that's fine to start, and it's a great way to start. I can't encourage it enough. If you're starting your cloud journey, dive in there, start seeing what's useful. It's a great way of starting. But you'll quickly find that you want something better. At that point, you've got the choice between the native tools from each of the cloud providers or something more generic like Terraform. And we recommend Terraform because what we've seen, not just across aviation, but all of our clients, is that once you start with one cloud provider, suddenly you'll find you might need tools from another and another and another. You'll realize that some of the services you may have run internally makes more sense to buy in a software as a service platform. And Terraform allows you to manage all of these, not only the big cloud providers like AWS or Azure or Google or Oracle. It also allows you to manage the cloud services that your business is likely to use, like PagerDuty for alerting or GitHub for code hosting of all the code that you're working on. And so using one tool to manage all of these allows you to realize that investment you're putting in your people and learning this tool across all the technologies you're going to deploy for your business. But looking at aviation more specifically, what have we seen using Terraform? So we've deployed Terraform in some large aviation clients now, and I've got other talks out there I'd encourage you to watch on this, and we'll do other webinar series on exactly this topic too. But the first one's definitely repeatability. So part of the reason you move away from that ClickOps model of using the provider's console into using a infrastructure as code tool like Terraform is you've got something you've done in that cloud provider. Say it's moving your website, your main website where your customers buy tickets from your data centers into cloud. You might have done that with ClickOps even. When you then import that into Terraform, or you start doing it with Terraform, building up that infrastructure, not only can you do it once, but you can do it again and again and again with very little additional effort. It means you can start providing development pipelines, you can start providing testing of your website, and it becomes very easy to do that. But not only does that work internally for you in your aviation business, but also in the community, in the Terraform community, a lot of the common tasks that you're going to do with the major cloud providers like Amazon, like GitHub, like Azure, have already been automated for you. They've already had Terraform code written, and you can adopt that code instead of having to write your own. It means that there's less work for you to do on the things that everyone has to do, and you can focus on just what's specific to your company. And we think that's a great feature of this tool. The next reason for moving to infrastructure as code, whether it's Terraform or anything else, the big one is security and auditing. So as you move into cloud, one of the big fears that people usually have, and internal security teams have, and rightfully so, is all of our data is going into this third-party company. How do we control that data? How do we control who's using it, what type of resources they're using, and how they're publishing that to the internet? And what using a tool like Terraform gives you is the ability to start applying security tests to that code. So before the changes are made in your cloud provider, you're running automated tests to say, is this exposing something to the internet that shouldn't be? Is this code that we're running in the cloud provider secure? The same way that you would with the code that runs your website or that runs your backend systems. The next big fear with cloud is always cost control. How can we stop people just spending all of the company money? And it's a very reasonable question. I've not yet seen any company, aviation or otherwise, that's looked at their developers and said, well, we're going to incentivize your work based on how much you spend in a cloud provider. It doesn't make sense to you. You want your developers to be productive. But what you do want to do is make sure that you don't have big costly mistakes. And one of the great things about Terraform is there's multiple options there to start doing what is now called FinOps. So taking control of the amount of money you're spending within cloud providers. HashiCorp have their HashiCorp Cloud platform. There's a tool called InfraCost that we like to recommend to our clients that show everyone in your company, not just your developers, but your product owners, even your executive level, what the cost of not only your overall cloud deployment is, but even new features. So as you look to take on a new payment provider or provide a new ancillary, you can see how much the infrastructure for that new feature is costing. So you start thinking more about return on investment for those new features. And lastly, as I mentioned before, the great thing about Terraform is it controls all of the clouds. Anything you're going to be using today in aviation, be that AWS, Azure, or even the smaller cloud providers, there's the ability to control it with Terraform. Now, in terms of what we've actually seen in our clients in aviation, I think it's important to talk about what the impacts of using this tool are just quickly. And in the real world, not only do you end up with happier developers, which are more productive, but also we've seen the ability with Terraform, with repeatable patterns, to start deploying new requirements from regulators in days. Certainly during the COVID pandemic, as I'm sure you're all aware, there was various forms and information, vaccination, so on, that the various governments wanted. With our aviation clients, we were able to start meeting those government requirements before they even became a requirement. We were able to easily deploy new solutions in days. When it comes to, for instance, new payment providers, we're being able to help our aviation clients deploy those in weeks, maybe a short month or two, which is it's astounding. It's very swift. And lastly, and possibly most importantly in aviation, one of the things that you get from using tools like Terraform and the major cloud providers is the ability to meet the needs of regulators and demonstrating your security and resiliency requirements. So you can show very easy to the regulators, our platform is secure, we're not going to expose customer data, and our systems are resilient in the case of a major storm, for instance, just like we've had here in Ireland over the past few days, where many flights have been redirected and the website starts getting hit rather heavily. So on that section, I think it's a good time to pause for questions. Are there any questions about this?
Yeah, I've got a question here. It's quite a broad question, but do many airlines use more than one cloud? So I suppose in your opinion, to what you know.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really good question. So what we usually see is at the start of aviation clients' usage of cloud, they move into one cloud. They might choose a primary cloud provider. Oftentimes that's AWS, but I've seen it be Azure, I've seen it be Google. But they'll choose one and they'll think, okay, that's fine. We've got our cloud provider. We'll move everything there. And that's a very good choice. It makes a lot of sense. There's sometimes it's good to specialize in one cloud provider and use their features and facilities. But in every single one of those clients, we've also seen then they move to other cloud providers as well. And it's not necessarily that they want to start, for instance, putting their website on two cloud providers. That's incredibly complex. I think there's very little value to that type of multi-cloud approach. But where it does make sense to use more than one cloud provider is something good that cloud provider specializes in. Usually if someone goes for, as an example, for AWS or primary cloud, we find they end up with some Azure because they've also got Office 365. So they've already got some work with Microsoft. And then they maybe need some Microsoft workloads run with SQL Server as a service. And you can do that in AWS, of course, but you can also do it very well in Azure. So every aviation client we've seen, whilst they may have started with one provider, they end up using more than one.
Very good. Thanks, Rob. Another question here. Do you recommend using HashiCorp or CNCF tooling? Which do you prefer?
So we at Amach, we don't have an official preference. We're happy with both. I was recently at HashiConf talking about the use of their tooling there, and they provide fantastic tooling. The CNCF, the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, also provide fantastic tooling. And I think if you're in this space, it's unlikely that you haven't heard of Kubernetes, which comes from the CNCF. And we've recommended and used a lot of the CNCF tooling stack with our aviation clients as well. So we're happy to support both, and we'll certainly dive more into the advantages of each of those approaches, be that going full in with HashiCorp or and their tooling, or going full in with CNCF in other webinars.
There you go, thanks. There's another question there in the Q&A that's come in. The other question's been directed to me. I think we'll hold that to the next break, if that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, great.
Okay.
I think we move to the next section, Rob, then. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay.
Keep the questions coming.
Yeah, please do. More questions. Happy to answer them all. So one of the other things we see in aviation is a lot of legacy estate. So what I mean by that is, and I think it's important to understand what's meant by the word legacy here, is the valuable technology that's kept delivering for your airline over a long period of time. Some people would view the word legacy as, oh, it's old, it's not valuable anymore. But if you've got old technology in your airline, it's probably been delivering a lot of value, and that return on investment over time has probably been very, very good. So we don't view the legacy estate in any bad way. Sure, it might need eventual transformation, but as you're on your digital transformation journey, you can't do everything at once. And it takes a large software stack to run an airline business or to run an airport. There's a non-trivial number of technologies in terms of tracking the maintenance on your aircraft, or tracking the number of aircraft you have, tracking the ticketing you've got with your passengers, and so on. There's a lot of technology involved in putting planes in the air and putting people on seats on planes in the air. So given that you can't transform all of that at once to cloud native technologies, what do you do about the legacy estate? What do you do about these legacy systems that might not be cloud native? Well, in terms of migrating them to cloud, that's easy enough. If you can run it in your data center, then you can run it in cloud. But how do you automate those processes? How do you get one of those legacy systems to interact with the new digital transformation, the new cloud native systems that you're putting in place? And for this, we recommend a tool called UiPath. And UiPath we use in two ways, one for robotic process automation, and the other is for automated testing. Now, as I said, the alternative to doing this is waiting to do that full digital transformation on all of your services before starting to automate some of the common processes. And we think the high value in digital transformation is in that automation of common processes. So let's talk a little bit more about that. So I think for me, both as someone working in aviation, but definitely as a client of aviation, as a customer, one of the most exciting RPA projects we got involved in was automated refunds. And obviously, again, going back to the pandemic and COVID times, you can understand why this was a big manual effort for some of our aviation customers to start going through and either giving customers vouchers or refunding cash. And no business, and I don't think there's any exception to this, no business likes handing out money. Yeah, none of us do, of course not. But where you have to, you want to make that as low cost as possible. You don't want to have to spend a lot of valuable people time on doing these refunds. And so we worked with one of our large aviation clients on automating those refunds with RPA. The reason we used RPA is a lot of the systems as touched on were legacy systems, were the ticketing system, were the finance systems. Finance systems are not traditionally cloud native with great APIs for running refunds very easily. Thankfully, the payment system that was used in this client was a modern system with APIs, and we'd help put APIs around that as well. So with UiPath, we were able to interact not only with the legacy finance systems, ticketing systems, and so on, but we're also able to bridge those together with the cloud native solutions that have good APIs to then fully automate the refund process. And this started piece by piece. It wasn't on day one of deploying this, we could refund all ticket types and all refund requests. But shortly after the start of this, we picked up more and more refund types. There was a lot of iterative deployment of value from this. And we were able to get, now we're in the place with one of our major aviation clients where all of their refund processes are automated, so that their people can then focus on more valuable customer interactions and not the handing out money to those customers. So it's been a very exciting one for us. On the other side of what we look to do with UiPath, when doing that digital transformation of services and migrating services to cloud, one of the difficult things to do can be testing a service after you've moved it to cloud. And usually this, if it's some legacy service, so something that is providing a lot of value to the business, for instance, handing out to pilots the various information they need on takeoff, the only people that can really test that are going to be your business users. And the last thing you want to tie up pilots, for instance, with is testing a service that you're migrating from your data center to the cloud. That's not valuable use of pilot time. So what you can do with UiPath is understand what it is that these users are doing, go through those user journeys with UiPath and automate that test. So it may be that one time you need time from that pilot to help understand the test that you're automating. But anyone who's been through a cloud migration knows that you don't end up doing one test. You'll do test of the development system, you'll do test of the test systems, and you'll eventually do multiple tests of the production systems before the migration. And so with UiPath, you can get a very valuable interaction with the end users to get proper tests set up in a very easy way without writing a lot of code. And then you can use those tests to automate your cloud migration. So in terms then of the experience, I've talked a little bit about one of our more exciting projects on the automated refunds. And I should have said, as it's here, it was in a few short months that we were able to start handing out refunds to clients, which is astounding for dealing with systems like finance and, of course, the security around payments and so on. But what we were able to build with UiPath there as well wasn't just a single process. You're able to build a library of reusable components. So as you start interacting with your ticketing systems or your finance systems, you get those library of components that until you've done full digital transformation of them, until they're full cloud native services, you're able to then interact with them in an automated way. And suddenly, as you build that library, you're able to look at other business processes. Where is the most difficult next process for customers, or where is the highest cost, or where is the greatest use of people time that maybe isn't valuable, that maybe isn't providing a great return on investment. And you can then look with that library, okay, we've got 2/3 of this, here's the cost of building the other third of the automation process, and move ahead with that project. Now, are there any questions on that side of things with RPA or with the automated testing that you can get from UiPath?
Yeah, there's one here in the chat I'll ask you. I don't know if you get to see it yourself. So can you speak more specifically about your services, or how your services automate some of the recurring processes in the airline business? For instance, harmonizing requests from various platforms to avoid duplication of effort, handling flight disruptions, and messaging passengers, and possibly moving passengers to an earlier available flight. A lot in that question, but maybe
Right.
you can take a couple of those points anyway.
That's a really interesting question, a really timely question as well. So I'm assuming everyone on the call is aware, but if you're not, here in Ireland, and in the UK as well, we've suffered some really bad storms over the past week or so. That's caused a lot of flights to be diverted, and it's actually causing us to look with our aviation clients on exactly those questions. So how we can start automating disruption management. We've done some work around that already, but how we can start automating the reallocation of people. And the interesting thing about then UiPath, it comes all the way around to Amazon Connect as well. So as what the type of processes we're looking at automating is, well, someone's flight's been disrupted. Who are the passengers on that flight? Linking in with then their CRM records. Okay, how can we get them on the next flight out? And then as they start to chat via Amazon Connect, linking into Salesforce or other CRM systems, how can we then automate the journey of putting them on that next flight that's most suitable for them? So of course, for a lot of people, they just want to get to their destination as quickly as possible. For some people, actually, a delay might mean going somewhere different. I know when I've been flying for business, a delay of a day might mean it's not worth anymore going to New York. I may as well go straight back to London. So then using the chatbot capability with Amazon Connect, then automate the backend process with RP and linking all of that in. So those are the sort of processes we're looking at now with some of our clients, and we definitely be happy to help share that knowledge with other clients in the aviation industry too.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Great question. One other one here. Can RPA be used to integrate legacy systems with Amazon Connect chatbots?
Yeah, I think I touched a little bit
Yeah.
on that on the last answer there, but absolutely. So it does go full circle in terms of digital transformation efforts that we're talking about. You can look when you've got your users chatting with you on Amazon chatbots to then influence the back-end systems, either provide someone a refund, get them booked onto another flight, or whatever it is that they need. And yes, absolutely, UiPath can be used to do that.
Yeah, and there's an attendee here who uses Selenium, and they want to know, should they look at UiPath to do some automated testing?
Yeah, that's a really good question as well. So we've been very specific in our use of UiPath for automated testing. Where there's not existing tests written for a system, be that in Selenium or any of the other web testing technologies or automated testing technologies, and you're migrating that system and your tests are going to be manual and the use of someone in the business that definitely their time could be used elsewhere better, then UiPath's a great answer. On the flip side of that, if you've got an existing web service and you've got Selenium tests and the update of those tests is well integrated into your development process, then no, we wouldn't recommend that you suddenly dump all your Selenium tests and move to UiPath. It's a great tool and it can be used for testing in a development life cycle. But if you've already got an investment in automated testing and that process is working for you, it's an important caveat, then no, we wouldn't recommend using UiPath in that place.
Very good, thank you. So we move to the final section. About 5 minutes left, Rob. So we've just for the people on the webinar, we've one more section for questions. So please get them in now.
Sure. So lastly, I wanted to talk about some of our thoughts here at Amach on the future of the airline industry. And as I said before, it's 2024. We have to talk about AI. One of the most exciting things I've seen recently has been some of the travel companies integrating with ChatGPT. So I think Expedia have done a great ChatGPT bot where you can start looking at travel options and chatting with there. I think there's going to be a lot more of this in 2024. I think a lot more of the customer interaction is going to be handled by chat-based systems. People enjoy discussing with someone options. People we tend to find in user research, they don't enjoy clicking around web interfaces. Some people do, but the vast majority of your customer base, not so much. So we expect artificial intelligence is going to help bridge that gap between not being able to provide customers, a direct travel consultant for every customer, at every price point, and the expectations that people might have that's what you need. So we think AI is going to be huge, but not only in the customer facing role, but also internally in information management, access to documentation, access to data on what are the most popular flights, who takes, more flights to one destination than another. Are there any demographics you can start targeting? AI and various learning models are going to help with start answering those questions more easily internally in businesses too. Now, I think it would be hard to discuss aviation in 2024 and not discuss mergers and acquisitions. We know a number of our clients are looking now at mergers and acquisitions, are looking at growth in that way. We expect to see a lot of this in 2024 and 2025. There is only limited growth paths for aviation. We have to think about sustainability angle. And when you start looking at digital transformation, you really start looking at the efficiencies of scale. And so that's why we expect to see a lot of mergers and acquisitions. And lastly, I talked about at the very start of the webinar how we're happy to see sustainability become a big thing with our aviation clients. What we've seen in industry is some of the use of electric planes. So for those short haul flights. On the flip side, we've seen the abandonment of some efforts on electric planes. So we know at Rolls-Royce, for instance, has stepped back and they expect hydrogen to be the answer. I don't think electric anytime soon in this decade is ever going to be an answer for anything other than short haul flights. But we have definitely seen there are companies, and I'm sure you've all seen them out there, that are doing excellent work on electric planes, and we expect more of that. We also expect on the sustainability angle, the data from planes to increase, the use of the data from planes in terms of fuel economy and fuel efficiency to increase, and we expect AI to be part of that journey on how do we fly the planes more efficiently from A to B. So I think with that, I'll give a final pause for, are there any further questions that anyone would like to ask?
Yeah, there's one that just came in about the RPA. So we'll go back to that one again. A quick answer because we're nearly out of time. So have you any problems testing legacy services with your RPA tool? That's the final question.
It's a great question. Not yet. No, we've not hit any problems testing legacy services with UiPath. We think it's a fantastic tool for doing this, and we'd definitely be able to be interested in helping anyone with testing those legacy services, especially during things like data center migrations.
Very good. That's it, Rob. Answered all questions. Thank you very much. So,
well, I'll move on then to what I hope are the key takeaways from this. First is always focus on the customer. That's what we're focused on Amach, but it's what we help, more importantly, it's what we help our aviation clients focus on. That's why we focus on technologies like Amazon Connect, Terraform, and UiPath. It's about how to make those customer interactions more valuable. It's how to make your systems more automated, and it's how to automate the processes that are going to help make your customers happier. Next takeaway is make cloud easy. That's what we're talking about with Terraform. Cloud is very important to your digital transformation journey, but you should make it easy to manage your cost, easy to manage your security, easy to use. And the last one, definitely touching on UiPath and that last question, is you can automate everything. Not just the technology stack or spinning up new copies of your website, but also you can automate the business processes you have, and we can help do that. Alan, I think I'll move on to you for the future webinars.
Yeah. Thanks very much, folks. We're coming to the end now, and just want to highlight some of the future webinars in our series. These are in no particular order. What we're going to do is run them bi-monthly. So about every 2 months, we're going to reach out to our network and run these webinars. So these are the list that we have planned. We welcome your input. We have a poll at the end. When you leave the webinar, you're going to get a poll. So there's a question in there about what you'd like to see next. So if you see something or you want something that's not on this list, then we're happy to add to the list. So we're looking at contact center, cloud management, more on digital transformation, more deeper dive into automated testing with UiPath, DevOps, CI/CD, and very interesting one. I can't wait for this one, Rob. What happens when it all goes wrong? I think we'll. I'd love to hear your ideas and about that. I can't wait for that webinar. So these are some of our ideas. As I said, please do answer our poll at the end, and we're happy to add to the list and talk to you. We also want to get some, if you want to participate in some of these webinars, we'd love to have you on. We're also get some of our partners to join us on the webinars as well. So you'll see more than myself and Rob. Here, speaking of myself and Rob, here are details. If you have any questions on any of what we've gone through today, please do reach out. The QR code is for our LinkedIn. We'd love to connect with people. If you have any questions on future webinars, my email address is there. You'll get me on the email or LinkedIn. And I'm offering up some of Rob's time for a free discovery. If you like what you heard and want to have a deeper conversation one-to-one with Rob, with yourselves and your company and your colleagues, please do reach out to me, and I can arrange that with Rob or one of his colleagues as well. And finally, I just want to thank everybody for attending today and for the great questions. It really does make the webinar more interesting when we got great questions. I want to thank you for that. And I suppose we'll close the webinar there until next time. Thank you very much.